What's up, YouTube? We're gonna change the tire today. It's gonna be fun. Y'all are coming with me. As you can tell, the neighbors love me. Alright, welcome to my backyard. How y'all doing? Today I'm gonna show y'all how to change a tire on a Supermoto. It's gonna be pretty awesome. I made it as simple as I possibly could. I usually do them on Tire Machine. I'm gonna do this one by hand to show everybody how easy it is to do, and you don't need to take it somewhere and pay a bunch of money, especially if you're just gonna fix a flat tire or something simple. Maybe you're caught out in the middle of the trail and you got some tools with you. I'm gonna show you how to do it. So what I got here is my WRX 250. It's an 08 model. There it is. Everybody's been wanting to see it since I got it done. It's a stunt bike. It's nothing special. I got my custom 12 bar that I've welded on. Really? Sliders, 50 stunt pegs, modified exhaust, third brake handle. Good stuff. Alright, what I've got here is a 5-gallon bucket. Because if you don't have a bike stand, well, 5-gallon bucket's the next best thing. So, if you don't know how to get your bike up on one, put it in neutral, drive the front wheel up around to it, grab onto your subframe, your exhaust pipe, anywhere you can, and just kind of boost it up on your leg, and swing the skid plate right on top of it. There we go. Got ourselves a bike stand. So now what we got to do is remove the axle so we can get the rear wheel off. This is kind of going to be more of a pain in the ass than usual because I've got 2 brake calipers on here, so it's going to be a little harder. But the tools we're going to need, basically, if you have a large socket set and a ratchet, that'd be the optimum thing to use because you're not going to mess up the edges of your nut. But if you don't have that, you can just as easily use an adjustable wrench. So I don't want to mess up my nut here, so I'm just going to use this. Let's take that loose. Now everything you take off set on each side of the vehicle. I say vehicle because I work on everything, but in other words, you take this axle out, you set it on this side of the bike. Pull your chain off your sprocket, and just... Now, this setup, like I said, is going to be more of a pain in the ass, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to let it fall down a little bit and pull back. And that's going to let your caliper come off your swing arm like that. Now, this caliper slides into the swing arm. Everybody does it different. Yamaha, Honda. But basically it slides into that little receiver there and it keeps it straight. So we're going to lay that aside. Shut up, phone. These spacers, dust covers, set them aside. This one already fell out. It's over here. What do you want? Who are you? Jeez. It's Alvin. Alright, now, it's my new tire right here. This is where the trash can comes in. I've got a special trash can. Found it in the middle of the road. It happens to be the perfect size to do a tire. Notice I set the sprocket side down. That's because that sprocket is going to eat the shit out of your hand if you don't do that. You're going to want the smoothest part up, which is the rotor. Take the valve core off. Now, I said that we're going to do a tire for a Supermoto. A Supermoto tire is not that much different than a dirt bike tire. A dirt bike tire is a little bit harder. Really? You're going on silent. I'm not dealing with this. Alright. A dirt bike tire has a bead lock. Directly across from your valve stem is a bolt that sticks out, and on the other side of that bolt is a big rubber pad that's inside your tire that holds your bead, locks it onto the rim. We don't have that on a Supermoto. Alright, what you're going to want to do is take your valve core out, and I've got a pretty fancy tool for it, but you can just use the cap. If the cap has the little tool on the end of it, that works just fine. Make sure your trash can is empty if you're using something like this. They sell little tools that are basically the same. It's just like a steel ring on a little stand. But you could find something that holds the rim like this. It's very good. Alright, got the valve core out. Set that aside. Alright, use a 12mm wrench. Take the nut off the tube. I also, right before I did this, I went and washed my bike. It's best to work on a clean bike. You got less grease, less dirt, less bullshit. Now what I'm doing is I'm pushing down against this trash can. I'm pushing this bead off the rim. It's a lot easier to do on tubed tires, because on tubeless tires there's a little ridge in here that it catches on. Sometimes you can push it off by hand, sometimes you gotta use the tire irons. Now these are the shittiest tire irons you've ever seen in your life, because I've had them since I was 16 and I'm not anywhere close to that old anymore. So start working these around, pushing this tire off the bead. Use a little bit of soap, get down in there. This one's being a real pain in the ass. Dirt bike tires are a little bit easier when it comes to this. Got it. Alright, now the proper thing to do, well, it varies. I mean, if you flip it over and you do the other side, that's probably the correct way to do it. I just go ahead and do this side with the tire irons, and that pulls the top side of the tire up a little bit, so maybe it'll break on its own, but you don't waste your time flipping it over. Most of the time it doesn't, so it doesn't usually work out like that, but we're going to give it a shot. Put my tire iron in here. Now you can look in here and you can see this tube. You can kind of get your hand in there. If you just pull this up over the edge of the rim here without pinching the tube, and you put this other tire iron, there's a little space created right there. Put that tire iron in there and just walk your way around. Every time you're hitting this little space between the tire and the rim. Now you see how that's staying right there? They make a tool, and I have one that clips onto the spoke, and it holds that tire from basically having the bead just follow you around, so you accomplish absolutely nothing. It doesn't work that well on Supermoto tires because the rims are wider. As you start getting around, you take one last bite, and basically the whole rest of it's going to come. One more bite. There we go. Alright, now we're going to see if we can just pull it off the bead on the bottom. This tire's been on here forever, so it's not cooperating. So let's give a little soap in here. That's just regular dish soap in there. Start jamming bars in here, working our way around. Alright, flip it back over. Now, pull the rim up, or pull the wheel up off the rim. Reach in there and grab your tube. Pull it all the way around. Notice I grabbed the tube on the opposite side of the valve stem. Push the valve stem through. Now you got your tube out. Now, the important thing is to stick the valve core back in, and you want to test this thing to make sure you didn't puncture it with the bars while you were taking it apart. Pull a little air in it. Squirt a little soap around it. Now this one's already been patched once, so let's check that patch, make sure it's not leaking. And let's set that right there, come back at it later. Looks pretty good, no bubbles. Alright, now we gotta get the other half of the tire off. Now, pay attention to which way this tire is going. This is a directional tire. Most motorcycle tires are directional, except for dirt bike tires, and some of those even are. See, I tucked that bar underneath there. It's going to hold that for me. I'm going to sneak in here. Kind of the same as last time. There's a little pocket in there that you can fit your bar. The more again, empty trash can. Works every time. This is going to be easier to get off. Get about a quarter of the way, just pull it off. That junk. Retrieve my bar. Moto, what's up? That's my dog Moto. He's super cool. He also runs everything I own. Alright, now make sure this tire is going to go the correct way. And I never marked the rim. I just envision the rim on the bike and know that it's got to be going that way. So this tire's got to be going that way. So let's soap it up. Now before we stick this tire on, let's check the rim strap. Make sure the hole in the rim strap is lined up with the hole so that your valve stem goes through easily. Make sure there's no tears in the rim strap, because these spoke nipples will rip your inner tube and you don't want that shit. Alright, so rim goes that way, tire goes that way, we're good. Force it on most of the way by hand and peel it on the rest of the way using your tire irons. Alright, let's recheck the tube. Make sure we got no bubbles. And we're good. Let all the air out of the tube. And I'm going to dry the tube. Both sides. Good enough, right? Now, secret ingredient, body powder. If your nuts don't need it, your inner tube is going to need it. Set that aside. Now, I'll go inside this rim and give it a dusting of powder all the way around. What that's going to do is, when you put your inner tube in, and the inner tube starts to inflate, it's going to inflate evenly. It's not going to be twisted because the powder is going to allow it to spin a little bit and get to where it needs to be. So let's locate the hole. It's right there. This is a nifty little tool worth investing in. It looks simple, but man, it saves you a lot of time. You feed it through this hole in the rim, and it basically saves your hand, and it saves you from having to say about 6 cuss words. because it's pretty hard to get your hand in there and fish that tube stem through the rim. So if you use this, thread it in there like that, and when you cram your tube in the rim, try to keep it as straight as possible. Just start cramming it in all the way around. Just tuck that baby in there. Try not to disturb that rim strap inside. Now you just pull in this cable, and there you go. It's through. That saves you pinching your hand and cursing and trying to get that thing lined up, because it ain't easy. Now put this nut on about halfway, because you do not want that thing to fall back in there, because then you gotta do it all over again, and nobody likes that. Now I'm going to put the valve core back in right now, and I'm going to give it a little puff of air. What that little puff of air is going to do is it's going to swell it up inside there just enough so that it keeps its position. And it also creates kind of a pocket in this corner right here, and that's where your bar is going to go. I use the right end of this tool. There we go. Now the reason I left that nut loose on the tube stem is because if that tube twists a little bit, it's not going to leave it under stress. So just put a little pop of air and feel in there. See, it's a little bit stiff, but it's still pretty pliable, but it's where it needs to be. And you know it's not bunched up right here, it's all uniform inside there. So when you go grabbing in there with your bars, you're pretty confident that you're not going to pinch it. Let's take a pretty large bite. Get that started. And just work your way around like you did when you were taking it off. If you're going to scratch your rim, this is when you're going to do it, because this is when you're taking the bar against the lip of the rim there. Alright, now as you make it about halfway around, you're going to want to start pushing this tire down so it goes in the inside of your rim. And that's going to allow you to stretch this part of it on. It helps to have 3 bars right now, but it can be done with 2. Just keep pushing your tire down into that rim. Alright, now be real careful you don't scratch your rim. Sneak that bar in there. Boom. Done. See how that tire's pushed down in? And as you air it up, it's going to pop out. A little more soap down in here. There we go. Got both the beads popped in. And let's tighten that nut in your inner tube stem. Right, let's make sure we get the proper air pressure in the tire. 35. I'm going to run about 32 in this tire, since I'm going to be doing a lot of stunt riding tomorrow. Run the tire pressure just a little bit low. I don't know what the hell happened on my valve cap, so I'm going to have to find one later, because it's gone. Alright, there you go, tires mounted up. Wipe the rim down so it doesn't look like shit. May even want to rinse it off if you're feeling crazy. Well, I'm not feeling crazy. Alright, next step is we're going to put the tire back on the bike. First thing you want to do is make sure you got the tire on the right way. Just triple check it. There's an arrow there, there's an arrow there. We all know it spins that way. It's on. Alright, back again. That's icy cold. Alright, here we go. Let's put this sucker back on. First thing you want to do is wipe out these grease seals. Get all the old grease out. Stick your finger in that bushing, in those bearings as far as you can. Get all that old grease out. And while you're doing this, you're kind of feeling your bearings too. Make sure they're not loose. These Yamahas especially are bad about front wheel bearings getting loose. Take your bushings and wheel spacers. Wipe all the old grease off that. And take your axle. Get all the old grease off that. Now let's get some grease. You're asking yourself now, why is he hooking up the air to get grease? That's because my free can of grease that I got from the local shop was missing a little plug in the bottom, so it had no air cell pressure. So every time I need to use it, I need to put a little pressure behind it. And we got grease. Yeah, I've been doing that for about 3 years now. So, take your grease, put it in your seal there. A little bit behind the seal helps keep water out. A little coat here on the inside. Quite a bit on your axle. And grease seal on the other side. And thin film again on that wheel spacer. Now, everything's prepped for the wheel to go back on. Everything's got fresh grease, your bearings are checked. Now it's time to do a little juggling. Now the trick is, you gotta get your brake caliper lined up, you gotta get your pads separated so that they're gonna go over the disc, you gotta get your chain in the right position, and you gotta hold your tire at the right height, lined up, perfectly between the two swing arm pieces without knocking your spacers out. You're not going to do it right the first time, and probably neither am I, but we're going to give it a shot. Now what I did off camera is I removed my third caliper so that it's not in the way, because it's a real pain in the ass. Your nut and your wheel blocks on. Push the wheel forward so that it's locked against the chain adjusters, and tighten your axle nuts. And there you have it. I gotta put my third caliper back on, but you just put a tire on your Supermoto and you're ready to go. That's been Fire Guy 24, first do-it-yourself video. Let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to like me on Facebook. See y'all later.